and into winning, never to lose. When we talk about vacation, though, it's always a cruise. It's Tony and Tommy with a TNT schmooze. Cruise Talk Weekly and we lighten the fuse.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another prolific episode of Cruise Talk with Tony and Tommy. I'm Tommy.
And I'm Tony, and we're here to talk about everything going on in cruising, the hottest stuff. Dude, you said prolific. That was the word of the day on my Learn a Word of the Day calendar.
Really? Prolific?
Yes.
You okay?
Yeah, until today, I thought it meant something completely different, but I think I know what it means today.
All right. Hopefully, we're not going to talk how I really. I appreciate.
Is it different than amateurific?
Yeah, right. And I appreciate you not calling me out for completely botching that intro, but you know.
Dude, that's the best intro I've heard all day.
We're having, of all the intros that you heard today.
For the show.
For this show,
yeah.
That intro that has gone on in the last 20 minutes, that's the best intro, right?
Absolutely. Dude, it's Thanksgiving week. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you how your Thanksgiving was. Did you have a great Thanksgiving?
I really did. I really enjoyed it. We have a group of, it's fun. One thing about Florida is that, we have a lot of refugees, you know what I mean? People who leave other places and come to Florida from the northeast portion of the country, and we have a way of finding each other. And in true northeast fashion, before we have a giant Thanksgiving dinner where there's too much food to begin with. And then my group decides, you know what? To pregame, let's have a meatball competition, a meatball making competition prior to the regular meal. So we're like all eating 3, 4, 6, 7 meatballs before we even get started. And that was a fun little thing. We had a little contest. I did not place, but that's all right.
Oh man, I make a good meatball. I learned a meatball on the internet, and I put it in front of many connoisseurs of meatballs, and it ranked pretty high. So even though I'm not part of your little clique down there, wherever you have your little Thanksgiving, the next time you have that meatball, I'll ship you some over there, man. You can enter in as anonymous.
I went a little rogue. I was trying to this is Cruise Talk Weekly, not Meatball Weekly, but I was like, let me go crazy. Let me put a little Thanksgiving turkey stuffing cranberry meatball together. Completely experimental. Didn't have it all worked out, but next year I'm coming.
Just so you know, they have meatballs on cruise ships, so you're not out of bounds here. They do. So why they got those bumpers for you when you go bowling, like they'll put them in the alleys. There's wide bumpers here, just so you know. Wide bumpers.
It's some sort of cucina, right?
That's right. Known as meatball. That's it. Well, good. Well, happy Thanksgiving. Do you partake? Do you do anything crazy with Black Friday? Did you? I don't even think Black Friday is the same as it was years ago. But do you do any shopping or anything?
No, I never. I'm just not a shopper per se. When I need something, I go get it. I never look as I always kind of like even. Definitely related to cruising, and shout out to everybody who does go and sit through the shopping presentation and this and that. I just, when you're talking about zip lining, you're talking about possibly snorkeling, shopping for things like Tanzanite is also on many people's lists. Yeah. For me, giving other people my money, is not necessarily my thing of an activity. So whether it's Black Friday or on a cruise, I'm not a really shopper as an activity person. How about you? Do you ever participate in any of that?
I haven't in years, but as of late, I've been a collector of both Lego and vinyl records. And to promote the local record store years ago, an organization was formed called Record Store Day. That's sounds like a day, but it's also an organization. And in April, they have a Record Store Day, and then they also have Record Store Day Black Friday, where this organization works with music labels to produce vinyl that's exclusive, that you can only buy it in your local record store. And I went to one of these Record Store Days in April, my first one ever, and I got there at 5 in the morning. The record shop was opening at 8, and there were 300 people in line because they're releasing things like in the quantities of 1,500 across the nation, that kind of thing. So the local record store here, there's a great guy named Tyler and his partner, Sydney. I don't know if that's his wife or his girlfriend. They have Granddaddy's Record and Vintage in Brooksville, Florida. It's his first time to participate in Record Store Day, the Black Friday version, which is a smaller list than April, and he had one. So I did get out early Black Friday and go get it. One thing that he had in the record store that they didn't have in a lot of other places was a live recording of Billy Joel in Nassau Coliseum from 1982. They only released 1,500 of these. There happened to be one in Granddaddy's. I took that home to my Long Island girl. I'm a big Billy Joel fan, so I had a really good Black Friday session. I went to Walmart like at 6 a.m. to look for discounted Lego, and then I was in line about an hour early over at Granddaddy's to do the Black Friday record store day. So it was cool, but I'm not much on getting out into it. I haven't done it in years, but it was neat to kind of be in the mix again.
That is awesome. Billy Joel is you got to pick a number one. A lot of his music you've heard so many times, so it's like I don't get in the car. But yeah, if you're talking about a catalog, very rarely do you have a catalog from somebody who can't fit all his songs into one concert.
Oh,
like it's crazy how many hits this guy has over the years. And yeah, Long Island guy myself as well. That's my number one. So congratulations on that, man. That's awesome.
And look, it's cruise related because on almost every piano session on a cruise ship, there's going to be a Billy Joel night. Somebody will be playing Piano Man. Piano Man, maybe, it seems like, much like Sweet Caroline from Neil Diamond, it seems like Piano Man should be worn out to the point where you don't want to hear it anymore. But I can still listen to it. I definitely can listen to it on a Billy Joel album. And if it's done well on a cruise ship, I will sit down and listen to Piano Man.
I'll say one last thing about Billy Joel too. Yes, he talks about Piano Man. He's a really good, like most of us Long Islanders, we're loquacious. There's another word of the day, loquacious. He's very, very good.
Loquacious.
Yeah, at talking.
I knew a girl named Loquacious once.
Wow. Okay.
I did. No. Yeah.
No, but he's very, very good at kind of like discussing his catalog and talking about he's really communicative, and if you see him in interviews, he does a lot with Howard Stern, some of those play along sessions, and he'll talk about the origin of the song. He's got a real talent for that as well.
No, there was a recent documentary that came out, I think a 2 or 3-parter, and it was fascinating. I think it was on HBO or something like that. It was really good. He's quite the artist, and he's quite the individual. So it's a pretty neat.
Yep.
All right. I guess let's officially talk about maybe some of the big cruise news of the week.
I got one, Tony. Ready?
Yeah, hit me.
Supposedly there was a woman who was on a cruise who was looking to be moving out.
Yeah, she was moving up and moving out. Her name was Ann Evans. Ann Evans, 55-year-old American tourist. She got on a Holland America Line cruise ship, the Rotterdam, I believe, and they made a stop in the lovely Caribbean port of St. Martin. 2 sides to that island, and I think 2 different spellings, but you got a French side, you got yourself a Dutch side. They docked, I think, in the Dutch side, and she got on a tour bus that went over to the French side. She exited the tour bus, and then she never came back. She was never to be seen again, at least by the tour bus or the cruise ship. I heard about the story about 8 days after it happened, and French and Dutch authorities working together were looking for this lady, and that's where I left it on the 26th, but we do have an update today on the 29th. 30th, whatever it's the 30th. Yeah. What's the update, Tommy?
Well, it's crazy. You imagine all these people running around. There's search parties. There's multiple government agencies looking for her. She's the talk of all the cruise news. Every 10 wins, everything. Meanwhile, she's sitting at a hotel bar, probably just drinking a mojito or something like that. People don't realize what this is. You want to just get off a cruise ship and maybe relocate or repatriate. And, a lot of us have thought about doing that. I had a vision of doing that in St. Thomas in my younger days when I was going to leave my job in New York City. I'm not afraid to kind of go to the other location or next location and kind of set up shop. I was going to do that in St. Thomas. I had a video where I was going to put me in the front, and this was going to be the introduction with the ship in the background, and I was going to kind of intro the whole series with my ship that I'm supposed to be on, leaving in the background. But apparently that's frowned upon. Apparently you're supposed to let people know. Apparently that's a little different. And I'm always wondering, because a U.S. territory, so there's different rules and regulations when it comes to that. I hear it's very, very easy to get a work visa in St. Martin. I actually had a job offer to operate a restaurant in St. Martin that I didn't take, but apparently I've been told it's very, very easy, but you still have to go through the proper steps and the proper channels, right? You're going to get some attention. And especially everybody, we all thought this woman, a lot of us thought the worst, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you gotta have the paperwork, and we saw this earlier this year. And forgive me, everybody, I didn't go back and look specifically what it was, but there was a lady earlier this year. I don't even remember the place, but she left with a full backpack, and then she didn't come back to the cruise ship, and they tracked her down. That's exactly what she wanted to do. She wanted to repatriate, so she took a pile of her stuff and she left. And it became pretty obvious to the cruise line that, she left with, there's nothing left in her cabin. She left a nice tip for her cabin attendant, and she bugged out. Well, that wasn't the case with this lady. This lady just seemingly went off for her excursion, and then she did not return, which normally means a dun-dun-dun type moment. What they did, though, is, she used it. Most of these hotels and resorts in different countries, they'll require you to use your passport when you check in. And so she gave them her passport, and they tracked her down through her passport. I wonder if it was a spur of the moment. Again, all of this is speculation, but I wonder if she was just out there and, got off that tour bus and said, wow, this is a great place. I would like to stay here longer. I don't really have anything but the clothes on my back and my passport and my way to get money. Maybe I'll just stay. I would love to hear a story. Now, on the tail end of that, the authorities there in St. Martin are like, it's a very private matter where we don't have any more details. Just know that she's fine and we found her. And much like the lady who tried this repatriation earlier in the year, basically she called the cruise line that was looking for her and said, I would like to be left alone. So, I don't know that, you got to do it the right way if you're going to do it. And certainly jumping off the cruise ship and leaving's not the right way. But I guess the all's well ends well. Good, glad that she's okay. Yeah, you might face. You never know. I think this could be an offense. Like, I think you might. In some of these countries, I think it's a crime to do some of this stuff. Certainly in the U.S., if you jump in and you immigrate, you got people looking for you. So, I'm not sure what the rules are there in St. Martin.
So that's what happened, right? She abandoned all her belongings that she brought on the cruise?
No, I would assume. I mean, none of the reporting.
Yeah, the privacy thing, right?
Yeah, none of the reporting said that she took anything. I think they would mention that, right? Because that would have been a big clue, as they did in the previous story. But none of that seemed to be true. It seemed like she just went and disappeared.
So, I spoke about it a week or two ago, about how we just hear these stories, and then next week there's a bunch of new cruise news that we cover, and then this kind of just evaporates into the ether, and I'm staying on this one, Tony. I want to find out.
I want to know what happened, yeah.
Yeah, I want to find out what this lady is all about. Is she just filthy rich and she just didn't need anything that's on the ship? And she's like, I like it here. I'm staying. I'll fly back later. Was she under some sort of, I looked it up and I looked into some sort of the speculation that could have been, people did mention, or some of the outlets did mention, maybe mental health or dementia or something like that. That could be a possibility. I think that could be a stretch, but it's, we don't know anything. So I'm just, for curiosity purposes, I'm just wanting to know. She's just, listen, I want another week here and I'm taking it. And this stuff that's on the ship, it's not important to me. I'd like to know what happened on this one.
Yeah, that'd be great to know. The other story that popped off earlier in the week, literally popped off, was this, there was a cruise fight, and surprisingly, it was not on Carnival Cruise Line. It was on a Norwegian cruise line cruise ship. I think this happened down in Australia. Maybe I'm getting the geography wrong on it. But apparently this young attorney guy, or did this happen in the Caribbean? I don't know. This young attorney guy, he gets on a cruise ship and he wants to go to his cruise cabin, and he runs into one of those heavy doors that's closed. So if you've ever cruised and you've been on a cruise early before they announce that your cabins are ready, they have these heavy doors that close off the corridors, and it takes some effort to open them, and they close them in an attempt to keep you out of there so they can finish cleaning up your cruise cabin. Well, this attorney, this young guy, he goes and he tries to get in, and then some older guy, 65-year-old dude, says, hey buddy, you can't go in there. Now, this wasn't somebody who worked for the cruise line. This was just a civilian, like the guy trying to get to his cabin. And the attorney said, who the F do you think you are to tell me what to do? And the old guy goes, well, I'm the guy telling you can't go down to the cabin. And the young guy pushes the old guy. The old guy pushes the young guy back. And then the third push that happens, the old guy falls to the ground, hits his head, and goes unconscious. And then the attorney guy takes off, and bystanders have to give the guy CPR. He has to be taken to the hospital, and the guy gets detained or booted off the cruise ship. Look, anytime you talk about these sensitive subjects, people are afraid you're going to shame the victim. Who's the victim here? Let's do it this way. Who's the victim? The unconscious guy, or the guy that did the making him unconscious?
Well, first, let's sort something out. Like you mentioned, this was not on a Carnival ship. But when I think about altercations and wild, crazy, maybe sort of like a fringe of violent activity, you think either Carnival Cruise Line, but if you have to think of a country, it's always the Bloomin' Onion community. It's always down under. Australians, no offense, love yous all. You guys are wild down there, down under. But I think this is a case that I think about something you bring up a lot, and you talk about it. You know, you could say whatever you want to people. Freedom of speech, you could say whatever you want at any time. But you have to be prepared that some consequences might come your way. Now, I don't know exactly what's happening here or what did happen here. All I do know is that...
Oh, wait. Let me interrupt. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I do agree that I've been on a cruise ship in Australia and people like to get rowdy, but this happened in the port of Miami before the ship even left. My apologies.
Sorry. So that's what it is doing. You were looking that up.
I was looking it up because I didn't want to disparage anybody. This happened on November the 22nd. Norwegian Encore, while it was docked, waiting to disembark, this Philip Ortiz, 38, pushed a man that was 65 to the ground, making him unconscious after this altercation before the ship even left, before it even left Miami.
Now I got to prepare a statement. Ladies and gentlemen of the Bloomin' Onion community, you have my sincerest apologies.
Unless you said bloomin' onion. I don't think they eat bloomin' onions down there.
They don't, but that's what they, we're going to go with that. We get called the New Yorkers, they call them the Bing Bong community. We don't run around yelling Bing Bong, most of us, but...
Where does that come from? Bing
Knick
bong,
fans.
Bing.
Yeah.
Oh, Knicks. Okay.
Knick fans, when the Knicks were doing good and they were very boisterous and loud, a lot of radio talk show hosts would, the Bing Bong community in New York. Because that's that one guy who runs around from New York, Bing Bong, and then he insults people in a funny way, whatever. We're getting off again. Either way. My thoughts on what probably happened here. Somebody said something to somebody. So often with these conflicts or whatever it is, they become not about the original thing anymore, right? I'm sure it was this guy trying to be a hero. I think one of two things can happen. Either this lawyer is a psychopath who has a thirst for violence, but when you go through that much schooling and you're kind of like, you know what the law is and you know how much trouble you can get into and you know what the consequences are of putting your hands on somebody, you like to think maybe he wasn't that much of a psycho. What you could have here is, sometimes, very often, and no offense to the elder community out there, a lot of times, which I'm approaching fast, we think that we're in a different season of our lives sometimes. And what we say vocally isn't always able to be as easily backed up by what we can do physically. And this guy may have had a long life of, just kind of used to being, the police or the guy who steps in or the moderator by force, the self-policer, that type of thing. And I don't know, is it proven that the lawyer put his hands on someone first? Is that what witnesses are saying?
I guess everything's alleged. So far. The guy was booked for assault against an elderly person. I didn't even know that was a charge, but there is like assault against an elderly person. I think he has an attorney, and through his attorney, he says he's going to be fighting it. So it's all alleged, but
So it wasn't a beating. It wasn't like he beat him to it was pushed back and forth.
Yeah.
And so many problems. Anytime something gets physical, you have to realize the ramifications that go. So the collision is not with the guy, probably with the lawyer and the elderly gentleman. It was probably with the elderly gentleman's probably his head and the ground is probably what happened.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
If he got pushed.
So the intent wasn't to beat this guy to a pulp. It was a pushing and shoving. Then the pushing got a little bit more aggressive. This guy fell down and an accident probably happened, which you can't really call it an accident, I guess, right? So no, I would not take sides in this yet until I know, because I could see a situation where, this guy says, I'm not letting these whippersnappers not break the rules. You know what I mean? Who knows? Exactly. So who knows what happened? Either way, what can you learn from this? The takeaway is don't put your hands on people. That's it. Or like Tony says, don't say things to people unless you're ready to have hands get put on you.
This is where I'm going to get called out for victim shaming, as I always do. I do believe in this day and age that if you open your mouth, you should be ready to whip somebody's ass. And if you are not prepared, then you got to take the consequences, right? Because that's the world that we live in. And look, I'm a lover, not a fighter, Tommy. I'm not fighting anybody. Therefore, I'm not saying anything to anybody, And again, if something rises to the level of like somebody's in danger or so I'm in danger, my family's then you go find the appropriate authorities. But, being out here, I'm Batman, out here on the cruise ship, this guy is, both of those guys, their whole cruise was disrupted, one arrested, one hospitalized for nonsense over a cabin. Before the cruise ship leaves. It's ridiculous, and I think we live in a crazy age where you just don't know. And I think you say it very well. This ain't the comment section. It's so easy to sit at home and be like, your mama, all that stuff. But when you're face to face with a person, you do not know what the flashpoint is. You do not know what the trigger point is, where it's going to go from exchanging words to laying hands. And I hate it. I mean, it's a sad story.
And I think it's fair to mention that this charge went from aggravated assault of an elderly gentleman to simple regular assault, standard assault, so not aggravated. So whatever that means, I don't know if it means anything, but there may have been some findings or some deeper digging to find out that this wasn't aggravated. Like I said, the ultimate injury happened from a fall, not from volume punching.
Yeah. It's wild. There was another fight too, and I don't think we talked about this, where an adult hit a teenager on a Carnival cruise, where he went into the O2 Club, and that's another one that doesn't have a lot of information around it, other than I got a bunch of emails from people sending me pictures of security guards sitting in front of somebody's room, and then of course just the hearsay speculation that the guy's daughter was involved, and but again, it's one of those we have to follow up on, but. The cautionary tale, the thing that we say a lot, or that I say a lot, is that, cruise ship is a great vacation, but it's not a perfect vacation. And just like when you interact with strangers in society, thousands at a time, there's a chance that some wild stuff could happen, and that you have to constantly have your head on a swivel and be situationally aware. Don't go out by yourself in the middle of the night if you're, there's just so many things that you could say, but I think sometimes we get lulled into that, like, oh, everything's going to be fine because we're on our cruise vacation, when the reality is you're in a small community, like the size of some small towns out there, and not every person's going to be a great person,
Yeah, with that situation, I think similarly, they don't always release all the details about what happened, but I did hear the same thing as you, something involving the guy's daughter. Oh man, it's a tough one. When it comes to family members, particularly children, daughters, you can see somebody seeing red in that situation, and who knows what happened. But yeah, I think where possible, when possible, when it's not an immediate family, let the authorities handle it whenever you can.
All right. Do you feel like judging someone? Do you feel like being a judger of people?
If we're out here today on a beautiful Monday morning, let's do some judging.
Yeah, so if we want to talk about keyboard warriors and haters, I'm a big fan of going over to John Heald, the brand ambassador of Carnival Cruise Line. Carnival, in a way, and maybe we can analyze what the strategy is, but they use the John Heald Facebook page to air out all their business. So this guy will freely put out people complaining. He'll freely put out praise, and they also use it to shape the people's minds. Right? I feel like cruise lines brainwash you on some level, and I think they do this John Heald page. But if we're going to talk about a keyboard warrior, I guess that what we're trying to determine here is on my show I called this person a garbage person. So I want to know whether or not this poster, if they're true, whether they're a garbage person or not. Let me read this message. This is a message written to John Heald. The message reads, "I am not a fan of yours, John, and speaking plainly, I do not like you. I find your immature humor irritating. I hate your videos and can't watch them without feeling like I need to vomit. But credit where credit is due. Thank you for arranging the scattering of ashes for me on the Conquest. It was a nice ceremony, so thank you." What is that? Like, I guess that's somebody's truth, and we should respect everybody's truth. But what's the point of insulting a guy and thanking a guy? I'm having trouble wrapping my head around this one.
Tony, how dare you mock this hero?
Saying the things that need to be said.
Saying what needs to be said and taking a stand against the representation of the tyranny that Carnival puts down upon us through the mouthpiece of a John Heald. No, of course, this guy, I mean, it's hard, when you read that, it's hard to imagine that that's even real, right? It's insane. Yeah. Like, you're going to say, like, they went to all these, this trouble to arrange something for you. And, I mean, you may not, John Heald might be not be your cup of tea. You may not have a taste for his humor, but to reach down and be able to pull up words like hate and vomit when you're talking about John Heald, who represents a company that did something very nice for you, I almost look at it as like that. This person's mentally ill. This person has major problems, right?
Some sort of problem. Like, again, I look, I know we're not supposed to be judgmental, but man, some people just put it out there in a way like, I don't know, just some of I feel like it's got to be fake, because some of the wording, like, I don't, I've seen bad comedians, I've seen bad movies, I've suffered, why would you, if there was a video presentation that every time you watched it, that literally made you want to vomit, why would you watch it more than once? Right? Like, if I'm watching a video and all of a sudden I'm going to throw up, I'm not going back. I'm not going back to the well. But apparently this person is in perpetual almost vomit, because every day they're watching that's the beautiful thing about social media and all that stuff is the haters are viewers also, right? And so you got to love a hater, because almost maybe more dedicated than your regular watcher, you're going to get the hater back there every day, just over there, just turning red. Like, I hate this part. But the bizarre thing, and I covered this on my show and I said it, who are these people? Like, I don't know them. It's so wild that when somebody gets like that with me, and I've had some pretty hateful stuff said to me, it's like, it's amazing that you have so much impact on somebody's life that they could hate you and they don't even know you and you don't know them. I don't know. Like, I think John probably has a pretty thick skin about it. It took me a long time to get there. I think I even mentioned on my show, like, Tom Holland, the Spider-Man actor, said that if I don't have your phone number, you don't have my phone number, then I don't really care what you say about me. And I thought that was a really healthy way to go about it.
Gage, I would even go a little further. I don't care about some of the people who do have my phone number. But I think
that hurts, man. That hurts.
So, not everybody.
Thanks.
That's not saying that everyone.
Thanks, man.
All right, you're right.
I know you're trying to tell me something.
I'm trying to clean it up. No, my point is that there's plenty of people who are on my contact list who I also don't care. There's also people in my contact list who I do care, and you,
quite a bit,
Tony, are on that list.
Say it.
Now,
that's nice, man.
Now, my question is, I would imagine John Heald would probably have a pretty John Heald-esque response to this. Did he?
He did. He said, "Guess what, lady? I don't like you either."
Yeah.
I'm glad we were able to help you out. So that is the appropriate response with the cleanest language possible. Yeah, it's a weird thing, I don't know. So to me, I firmly believe that you can choose positive over negative. Like, I think we all walk this path where you can choose at any moment to look at the positive side of something or the negative side of something. And obviously, this person balanced both of those. That was beautiful. I hate you and I love you all at the same time. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's a latent love for John Heald, an unrequited "I can't have you" John Heald love. And so, much like when you're a kindergarten where you're punching the girl that you like, maybe that's what this person's so in love with John Heald. I'm going to go full psychologist here. I think this person's so in love. I think it's a lady too. I think it's so in love with John Heald, and she can't have him, that all she can do is punch him with her words.
That you might be onto something right there. I think that's the best diagnosis of this piece of literature that I think we can even come up with. 100%.
I don't think people know this about Cruise Talk Weekly, that we are happy to diagnose your problems. You just need to tell us what your problems are. You can do that by sending an email, questions@cruisetalkweekly.net, and we will solve your problems.
Or just send a ridiculous letter to John Heald. We'll find it and be able to break it down from that standpoint as well.
Cut out the middleman.
Yeah.
Cut out the middleman. Go directly to Tommy and Tony. We're TNT, baby.
We got you. We got
Come
you.
on. Come on. What else is going on in this world of cruising?
Oof, there's a lot of stuff out there. Carnival is putting tags on water bottles, right?
Tagging them, baby. Look, you hear people out there saying Carnival they're not treating their loyal cruisers well. And I say poppycock, because what they've done this week is they've gone to the next level. Here's the dilemma. Once you get to, I think, almost the very second level of loyalty, they're going to give you free water, life-giving water, in the form of a 1-liter bottle. Now, to be fair, they made it not super easy to get the water. So you would have to go to a bar that was open and ask for the water and explain to them that you were redeeming your VIFP free water bottle. The other thing that they do that's tricky, though, is they would put the exact same water bottle in your cabin. And so it was always a question like, okay, well, I get a free bottle of water, but these bottles of water have a tag on them. They say if I drink them, they're $4.95. Can I drink this water? What if I drink the water and replace the water? I've lived that life before. I drank the water and then I replaced it with my free water. And then there was a time where there was some messaging that said, just drink the one in your cabin. We'll figure it out. But then people were like, well, I drank the one in my cabin. I still got charged. It became almost unmanageable. So now, in an attempt to do right by their loyal customers, Carnival's come up with a new solution: red tag.
Red tag indeed. And I would probably guess that this came from them. There's deniability. You want to, close all the windows. You want to cross all the T's, dot all the I's. And I bet there was some deniability there when it came to people drinking the water that was put in, that they said, I'm not paying for this water. I assumed it was free. I got free water. Why would I assume that I was paying? You left it there for me to drink. I didn't ask you to put it there. And through that, I bet that Carnival did refund a lot of money for bottles of water, over the weeks, months, and years. So in order to cross this T and dot this I, they're going red tag. Now, we're going to be into this because we know how this works, and we have our finger on the pulse of all things that are coming out, cruise news related. I wonder, because not everybody reads the fine print, and I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a communication gap and people are still not going to understand what Carnival's doing.
So they're, the big change is they're going to deliver that water to your cabin with the red tag. And I'm sure there's going to be a small percentage or maybe a big percentage of people that are like, well, I used to like getting it at the bar. You can't make everybody happy, right? Oh, I used to get at the bar all the time. Now I got to wait till my cabin's open. Now I got to wait till you deliver it. The first thing I did is I don't drink alcohol. I went and got my free bottle of water and I carried it around. Now I got to wait for you to deliver it. There's going to be some people. As you were talking, though, I'm like, that is kind of sneaky, right? We talk about upselling on cruise ships all the time. As soon as you get on, do you have the drink package? Do you want the drink of the day? Do you want to do some specialty dining? Do you want to try this? But then I never thought about how subtle it is when you go to your Oasis, when you go to your cabin cabin, when you go to the place that's going to be your sanctuary for the week, they're selling you inside of there, right? Like they got water for sale inside the cabin. Like, couldn't you just leave the upsell somewhere else? And again, it's life-giving water. Where are you at on drinking out of the bathroom faucet?
Nope.
Because
not happening.
You don't do it. Yeah, I've been to a couple of these things where they show the salination process on cruise ships, where it may be some of the cleanest water ever, the way they take the salt water and make fresh water. And then I also saw a post from John Hild saying that they also pick up fresh water in Miami. Because another crazy post I saw this week was somebody was afraid they were going to get some sort of disease if Carnival brought the water on from a Caribbean island. So they're like, hey, we had some cousins. They went to an all-inclusive. They drank the water. They got dysentery. I'm making up most of those details, but the overarching framework is they had a relative that got sick drinking water in some foreign country. Is Carnival taking their water from that foreign country? And then Carnival had to come out and say, no, we're bringing fresh water on. But I was on another cruise ship where they say all of their water comes from desalinating salt water, and it's so pure that they have to put chemicals in it to make it reasonable. I'll take my morning medicine out of the faucet. I don't care.
Yeah, if you got to wash something down quick, I get that. But as far as like really chugging and hydrating, yeah, I'm not doing that. But I will say the one caveat to the whole, I want my water the way I get it at the bar or whatever. I will say the one caveat to that, and the one, argument that holds water, is that it's cold, Yeah. They leave the free one sitting there kind of warm, and then you got to transfer it to your refrigerator, which is operating at a balmy 47 degrees in general. So, it is nice to get that kind of, with the coming from either the ice well and the vapors hanging off of it and then ice cold water. That is nice. But, I agree with the overall underlying sentiment that you are not going to please everybody with this.
The wild thing, I remember that transition in cruising too, where you can't call it a refrigerator anymore. Like they tried to change the language on that to it just being some sort of cooler or something. I don't know. It's wild because I remember like some controversy with medicine. Like I'm trying to keep my medicine cold, and they're like, well, it's not really a refrigerator. You shouldn't try to do that. It's wild. Like, that's why I love cruising, because there's so many different aspects of it. And any one of those aspects could go sideways in somebody's mind. It really speaks to the complexity of the human brain, because just when you think that people have complained about everything, somebody will come up with a new complaint, which, it's wild stuff. Wild stuff.
It is. What's going on in Nassau? I'm hearing that this beautiful beach club may be getting pushed back a little bit. They had a preview, right? They had a preview, I guess, unveiling that they were going to offer select guests, but that was canceled. As of right now, I believe they're still planning to open on time, but some people are questioning that.
Yeah, I don't, that was a question I was asking myself, like, why is this a story? So for the unfamiliar, Royal Caribbean bought a swath of land between the Atlantis Resort in Nassau and the iconic lighthouse at the end of the exit of the harbor there in Nassau. Not that full distance, but basically they bought some land on Paradise Island. That's what that's called. And they're making a beach club, which is kind of a beach club in the style of a Mr. Sancho's or Paradise Beach Club in Cozumel. And I think it was either the 27th or I think the 27th was the original start date. That was going to be the grand opening. And then they said, hey, we think we're going to be done early. Let's have this thing open on the 23rd of December, 2025. This is going to be our grand opening. Dun, 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 dun. And then we got some sort of news this week that because of construction delays, that they're still going to open on time on the 23rd, like they told everybody.
Well, so what do you think?
I guess that, why even the only people that this is affecting are the people that were part of the preview thing. So I don't understand why it's a big news story, but it is a big news story. But the challenge is that if Royal put this information out themselves, if people are only half listening, they're going to be like, now you're delayed. You say, but it's really, they're still going to open at the same time.
Do you think so?
Well, they say they're still going to grand open on the date that they announced.
In the comments, I want to see it. Yes or no. Do you believe that they will keep the original official opening date? Because there's just mixed, I guess, mixed opinions on whether or not they're going to be able to pull that off. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, a little under the weather here. Hopefully you're bearing with me on that. But it's just crazy. My thing about that whole area, how many times have we sailed into Nassau? And I'm amazed how much that's going to change the sail in and the sail away. And what an amazing selling point. Just what you're going to see now. I love the lighthouse. I love the land. It was beautiful to kind of see, and it was kind of like we all kind of knew, oh, we're getting closer. There's the lighthouse. Now you're going to see this gorgeous beach club, and it's going to pique a lot of people's curiosity. If I were Royal Caribbean, I'd have people stationed downstairs selling that for when people get off the ship. Hey, I saw that. Yeah, sure, you could sign up right here, because a lot of people probably think, or it may be too late because it's an excursion you got to pre-sign up for, oh, we'll do it next time. I would have people say, just because you saw the best advertising for that beach club you could have is that sailing, I would be set up for last minute bookings on it.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. So I was in Nassau maybe 10 days ago or something like that, and it looked like the construction was still pretty heavy duty. Like there was still a lot of construction. I wondered at that time if there would be some sort of delay. But the wild thing, and I don't know how they could pull it off, depending what time of day your ship makes port in Nassau. Yeah, if Royal could have the party going, could you imagine that? If you sailed in and there was already people on the beach,
Yep.
You'd be jealous. And I think at least right now, it's only available to people sailing on Royal Caribbean Line. So I think Celebrity's going to have access to it, and then certainly Royal Caribbean International. But yeah, definitely, I think having somebody right out on the pier that, you're snagging people that, because Nassau, let's face it, Nassau is one of those ports where not everybody gets off. Sometimes it's about 50-50. You talk to people and they're like, yeah, I always get off. I'm going to go find something to do. And that's true for almost every port. And then there's these people like, I've been to Nassau. There's not doing Nassau. But I think if you got somebody right there at the point where they get off the ship, you could definitely sell. And it's not an inexpensive thing. But again, I think it includes food and drink. I think it's like a full beach club experience.
It's 109. I think it's 109 for kids and 129 for adults. Is that full? We don't know. We'll find out. But is it full drinks?
Maybe not. I heard some more expensive prices. No, but yeah, we'll have to track it once.
Okay, so if you get, there's probably multiple levels to the package. But that pool looks amazing. That pool is going to look very enticing when you're sailing in.
Yeah, I can't wait to. Matt will be on there once it's on there. We'll have to get the details. Yeah.
I got a quick question. That just reminded me of something about whether because you got to imagine too. Maybe it will open. But you have to enter into the possibility that because it has to hold the date, it'll force the opening. Meanwhile, there may be some things that aren't available, on week 6 that are not available on week 1. I heard you talk about one of your last cruises. I don't remember which one it was, but you went to a show, and you went to the show expecting one thing, and it ended up being just like a concert, just a singing performance of the music from the show. Did that happen? Did I see that right?
Yeah, so I was on the Carnival celebration. They have this show called Color My World, which none of these shows make sense anymore. I don't know what's happened to cruise entertainment, but basically they're just all like compilations of songs that people would know, right? But then they also do dance to it. So this Color My World has these interactive screens where during the show, while somebody's singing a song, they fake paint on a easel, like on a canvas, and then the stuff happens. I've seen that show before, and the whole premise of the Color My World is that every song has color in the title, right? Like Go By You or something like that. So I was with our friend Don Terrace, who'd never been on Carnival or hadn't been on Carnival in a decade. He's like, what's the show Color My World? And I said, oh, yeah, it's one of the songs. All the songs will be about colors. There'll be people dancing and stuff like that. And we get in there, and Don has to sit in the front row. And so we're sitting there, and it's just 2 people sitting on chairs in front of this elaborate stage. And the show starts, and they're just sitting on the chairs singing. And I was like, oh, maybe I don't remember the show. Maybe it starts with 2 people sitting on chairs. When's the dancer's going to pop out? And then we get to the second and the third song, and I was like, oh, something's drastically wrong. Either they've scaled down the show, as a cost-cutting measure, or something happened. It was about 3 days later that we found out that part of the cast was under the weather, and so they turned it into, and I remembered the word finally, they turned it into a showcase performance. So you hear this term. This is a common thing in cruising. There's some shows that don't do well in bad weather. So they're like, I remember Greece on maybe it was that ship that we were on, Harmony or something like that. Whatever the Oasis class ship that Greece was on, which they've done away with it, sadly. There was one time we were in inclement weather, and they're like, "Hey, tonight's performance of Greece is just going to be a showcase where the people are just going to sit around and sing the songs." And if you know that going in, that's good. Like, okay, I'm just going to watch people sing songs. If you go in there not knowing that, you're like, "What is going on here?" And that's the way I left that show, and Don left that show. He was like, "Is this the show?" And I'm like, "I don't think it is." So then the same scenario a couple nights later with another show, the cast was still sick, and they said, "Hey, we're having a showcase performance of this, which is just going to be the songs." It was bizarre. You ever been to a show that went sideways like that?
No, apparently the show must go on is not necessarily. I mean, to me, that's, you just said it. You said it 100%. Like, if you're gonna have any type of alterations to the show, let us know. Okay, this is even at the beginning of the show. I would do this, ladies and gentlemen, due to an illness that happened and spread throughout our cast. We're going to really do everything we can to put this together for you, but it's going to be a showcase performance where you'll be able to see the music. I think you're really going to enjoy it, but it's going to be different. Because what you avoid there is the people who realize it 10 minutes in, and then you have the exodus.
Start walking out, yeah.
Right. People start walking out, and then for the people who are okay sitting there enjoying it, they're stuck with dealing with people getting up and asking them, "Excuse me, can I get by?" This and that. It's not right. I mean, it's just kind of like part and parcel to a lot of the things we're seeing with the recklessness about things getting taken away. I mean, I could see them being there like, well, should we tell them, listen, we took away their room service, we took away this, we charged them more for that. This is the least of their problems. Yeah, just sing the damn songs and that's going to be it. They'll like it. But I mean, for me personally, if I was going to do that, you only have 7 days on a cruise ship, 3 days on a cruise ship, whatever your time is, you may want to get into something else. And a little bit of a forewarning may help you do something else or experience something else on the ship. Because people probably did sit through the whole thing because they felt like it might be rude to get up and leave, right?
Yeah, it's like there were people that for some unknown reason sat right on the front row, and you definitely can't get up and leave when you're sitting right on the front row. The wild thing is wonderful performance, like the male singer, the female singer, fantastic. I mean, beautiful chops like no other chops. But I couldn't get beyond my head. Like, I couldn't really enjoy it because I was like, what is going on here? Like, the whole 45 minutes, I was like, I don't think this is right. I don't know what's going on. There was actually a third option. So you said you can either sit there and take it, or you can rudely get up and leave. We found there was also another option. There were people that were 2 rows behind us that had a conversation for 30 minutes that was louder than the show. So I'm like, I didn't even consider that. I was like, oh yeah, your show sucks, so I'm just going to talk to my friends for 30 minutes. That option played out also, which it was a weird, but to the point that you made, if I would have seen on the program, or if they would have made the announcement that there's going to be a showcase performance of Color My World, I would have not gone to it. I would have just said, hey, let's go check out the comedian, or let's go check out something, because this isn't going to be what we're looking for. And then a few days later, when the Latin show came up, they said this is going to be a showcase performance. They did announce that showcase performance, and I was like, okay, we're not going to go to that. And then what was nice on the last night, the crew was all back together and they redid the Latin show, and we went and watched that. But yeah, it was bizarre. But to your point, I've said this before, sometimes you have too many choices when it comes to what you can do on a cruise ship. But if you have that many choices, you should pick the best one. And a lot of times you need all the information to pick the best one. Because I love going to the show, but I don't like those showcase shows. I would have skipped it. I would have skipped it for sure.
Same. It's we've seen them. We've seen them all, and we've seen enough, so give me an actual show and give me we already know that the plot, the shows with the plots are few and far between. So if there's a chance to see a full show and that's what you're there for, that's what you want. But I mean, I don't know.
The other wild show thing, one of the things you have to balance on cruising, cruising's whatever you want it to be. So both you and I have said that when they give you that daily schedule, highlight if you're on paper, or if you can use the digital thing to heart it or favorite, make a list of things you'd like to try, but don't force yourself to try them. But when it comes to the nighttime on cruise ships and all of your entertainment options, eating dinner can mess you up. And we had that scenario where I went went with I was with my friend Don, and he was part of a travel group, and so I got ingratiated into that group, and I got to do a lot of things with them. And one night we went to Rudy's Sea Grill, and you take the reservation whenever you can get it, but we had it at 7:00. And so that means there's no way you're going to the 7:30 show. And most likely you're not going to go to the 9:30 show. And they were doing Celestial Strings, which is a very popular show there on the Celebration. They do it in the center stage area, and it's well regarded. I've seen it. It's a wonderful show, and a lot of, aerial stuff. And it's a great place to see a show. But the 7:00 dinner screws you up. I mean, especially for a specialty dining. Couldn't go to the 7:30 show, and for that center stage area you need to line up about 45 minutes to an hour early, so there's no way we were going to get seats for it, so we missed that show completely. So it just reminded me, as I was sitting there, I'd seen it already. I kind of wish Don had got to see it, but it kind of reminded me that dinner is one of those things that will actually screw up your night on a cruise ship, which you wouldn't think that would be true, but the new cruiser may find themselves like, oh wow, there was a lot I wanted to do tonight, comedian, piano bar, but I couldn't do any of it because of dinner, which is a weird thing.
Yeah. Are you as confused and quite frankly disappointed as I am regarding that center stage area and what they did with it? I just don't think it makes sense whatsoever. I just think that a bunch of people came in a room and had 6 different ideas, and they decided to just compromise and do a little bit of everybody's idea.
So what I like about center stage is its multifunction use, right? So a beautiful thing that some other cruise lines have done well, like Royal Caribbean, they have this thing called 270, I believe, at the back of their Quantum class cruise ships. They have a place where they can open all the windows and let in the natural light during the day for sailing. Then they can close all that stuff down. MSC World America did the exact same thing, close it all down, make it screens, and do production shows. I think that's what we're going for with the Celebration. One of the big beefs about big cruise ships is they struggle to get natural light into the center areas, into the common areas of cruise ships. That was always a knock against the Oasis class cruise ships. So to Center Stage's credit, it is a nice multifunctional space. But when it comes to a performance space, it's horrible, because if you want the best, there's an overhang, and then there's a big open area. You can fit hundreds of people in that area, but if you're not in the front primo seats, the show sucks. You can't see everything. And so if you're under the overhang, you have to watch on a screen, which is like you're in a room anyways, to see what's going on in the stage. So I think the concept is great. Let's have a multi-use space in the middle of the ship that allows us to bring in the natural light so people can enjoy it during the day, and then have almost a second main theater, because it's just beautiful for multi-thousand amount of people on a cruise ship to be able to go to a theater show or that center stage show. I think it really opens up your entertainment opportunities. But to your point, the execution of it is poor.
My thoughts on it is that they saw the success in their regular atriums of having sort of like, okay, it's an atrium, but oh wow, a party can break out. The Motown hits or what have you. Even on the Vista class, the Celestial Strings, gradually over the years, that atrium, which we think a lot of atrium, okay, welcome us on board, but also a lot of place where you handle business, shore excursions, desk, guest services, this and that. They would break out with impromptu parties that would be very, very successful, to the point where like, okay, let's put a little stage behind the bar. That's cool. That works. All right, cool. People seem to really be gravitating towards that. Then it became to like, let's really blow it out. Well, we love this 270 concept. How about we combine this 270 concept with what we've already kind of like been building towards? To me, it's like a little bit of the law of diminishing returns. You kind of eliminate that. And to boot, you just mentioned the seating situation and the obstacles with that. So the bottom seating, you can't see the whole show unless you're in the first couple of rows. The second middle, there's not enough seating. There's just a few rows of that. And on the top, you're uncomfortably looking down like you're, in some high-end balcony or whatever, that you can't really see the whole show. Aside from that, Tony, it's also basically a thoroughfare. It's a segue area of the ship. You have people, making frozen drinks. You have people ordering coffee at a loud volume, having conversations while they're putting this well-rehearsed emotional performance on, where everybody's supposed to be locked in and at the edge of their seat with these aerials and this beautiful music. Can I get 3 lattes? Can I get you hearing all this stuff? And people are just walking by. And all the people who are basically like coming from another part of the ship, trying to get to another part of the ship. It's a freaking hallway. So it's just, to me, it's like, I don't know. I hope they don't repeat that on the next class.
Yeah, we, like I said, we were with the Carnival representative for that whole week, and the questions about the Ace class were quite frequently bandied about. And "mum" is the word over there. They're not talking. So I'm interested to see what that new design is. Yeah, it's gosh, I do like that area, and I don't want to poo-poo it too much, but I think it is best served for a game show. It's best served for a dance party, but it's challenging. Either you gotta put the time in to get the and it was a madhouse. So we went to the Most Magnificent Circus, which is a show that they have in Center Stage. We lined up probably 30 minutes before the show. We were probably 10 deep, and you can enter the seating several different ways. So if you're looking at the stage, the center stage, they're going to let you in on the seating on the right-hand side down to the floor, but they're also going to let you in the seating from the back. And as soon as they dropped the ropes, it was a madhouse. People were scrambling. It was very aggressive, and I was like, yeah, this is a bit of a problem. It's a bit of a problem.
So to your point, I found it to be a very, very enjoyable place too. After the gym, after I got my coffee, I'd find one of those comfortable seats and enjoy that area during the day as a lounge. And then, oh, by the way, cool, you could watch a little bit of and say what you want. Is that I enjoyed it, but I'm sure the protocol for these awesome shows is not to just have them be rehearsed in front of the whole cruise ship, which I ended up enjoying. But yeah, you basically can see the show, retakes, try it again, do it again, run it back. You're watching them rehearse the show that they're going to do that night.
The beautiful thing, and the thing that fascinates me a lot about cruise ship design, is it is iterative, but it's a slow process, right? So if you think about the Oasis class, I don't remember how many cruise ships there are, but they all have that aqua theater at the back of the ship. Somewhere along the way, they said, look, we've canceled too many shows because of weather. This aqua show is amazing, but it doesn't work at the back of the ship. So they had to wait until a whole new class of ships to make that change. And now they have the Aqua Dome. So they moved that. So I think that's what we're going to see with this new Ace class of Carnival ships. There's definitely a challenge with Center Stage being where it is. It'll be neat to see how that evolves. The same way on the new Star and Sun Princess, their arena, which is their main theater, really too small. So it's going to be neat to see how that may adjust. On the the Norwegian Aqua, the Sid Norman's really too small. So it's going to be neat to see how they adjust. But when it comes to cruising, all those adjustments are slow because you almost, they're pretty locked into a design with the ship class, and they really don't change those designs much until they make a new ship class. So super interesting. The other thing that's happening in cruise ships now, I noticed it on Princess, and it definitely happens on the XL class of cruise ships, is they've moved customer service out of those main areas. You mentioned it. So like the customer service on the Celebration is all the way at the end of deck 8, away from the crowd. And then on the Star Princess, you have to go down a whole deck away from the main floor, and it's tucked in a corner, like it's in a pod. What do you think the move is there? Do you think there's been too many videos of people standing in line at customer service on the last day to remove their tips, or it just becomes too obvious? You're in this beautiful atrium, and as you may be doing a pan shot to show people the atrium, there's 30 disgruntled people in a line. I feel like that's got to be some of the motivation of moving customer service out of the main eyesight. And maybe I like it. Maybe I don't want to see a bunch of angry people while I'm trying to get my latte or just watch a show in the atrium.
Could you imagine if they had also the guest services in the atrium on Celebration and the the Excel class ships? I mean, just add it to the list. I mean, there's people you're talking about chaos at that point, just mass chaos. Yeah. But I don't know. It is. I don't necessarily. I think it's just on whatever ship it makes most sense. I really think, in hindsight, that Vista layout, I really, really do like. I do like, all the Carnival, the way they were doing. You do. I've been guilty of it too, having been in control of strategy when it comes to planning out nights and nightclub activity in bars and restaurants. You see something work, and then you jump on that bandwagon too much, and then you try to force it. I can make it even better. No, you lose the charm of the original viewpoint of it was. You know what I mean? You had something there that was kind of authentic. It looked like those parties, whether they were planned or not, it looked like those parties were like pop-up fun times, whatever. Now you make it so that, no, this is planned entertainment in this area that's normally a Segway area, or where you get your coffee, or where you get your Philly cheesesteak sandwich, or whether the fun shops are, or guest services. It's tough. It's challenging.
Yeah, I guess. But thinking about that, as you flow further back, though, I love that area with the bar, whatever it's called on. What is it on Celebration? The Golden Jubilee or whatever? Oh,
yeah. Well, you have on that level, you have the Golden Jubilee, you have Latitudes. They're kind of like right across from each other.
That Latitudes down into the Emeralds area, I think, is one of the nicest spots on that ship. Like, I was there on a port day or something, and it was completely empty, and it was just a great place to sit. But again, that's the main thoroughfare to get to the main dining room. So at some point, that place is pretty packed. But yeah, that's the interesting thing about these cruise ship designs is there's some really magical spots, and then there's some really pain points. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see possibly how they deal with that going forward. Yeah. Well, Tommy, we said a lot, man. Like, I don't know anything. I don't even know what's coming up this week. I've been so busy with stuff that it's a good thing. But, I've been off a ship for a week, and I go back again middle of December. So I'm excited just to be at home for a little bit. Do you get like that? Like, what's the longest you think you could stay on a cruise ship at a time?
The way I see it, Tony, I don't think there is, at this point, I think I'm good. I could stay on a cruise ship.
You think you could live like year after you could Super Mario the thing?
Yeah, I could. I definitely could.
I don't think
Now, talk to me a month and a half into that, maybe there's a different story. But from my standpoint, the longest cruise I've taken, I believe it was 12 days. And I didn't need to get off that ship. I was good with another 12. We could run it back.
Yeah.
Speaking of running back, though.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the last things we talk about, the Carnival is making it easier to go back to back, right?
Yeah. What did they do? I can't remember. I don't think I read the whole story, but the process is now more.
Yeah, the process is now, if you're going to do a back to back, customs agents will board the ship.
Oh, nice.
And they'll do a little turnaround. Not a huge story, not breaking news, but and I'm looking forward to one day doing a back-to-back, and maybe we could tease that, because I think in the coming weeks we might talk about, for two fellas who are both over 50 cruises each, what's still out there that we want to do? What haven't we conquered? What are our remaining cruise goals out there? We could dive into that at some point.
I think that would make a good separate little presentation. Yeah. So stay tuned, everybody. I guess what we're trying to say as we get to the end of Cruise Talk Weekly, episode 12, first and foremost, thanks. We've had a lot of good response, both where you get your audio podcast. So all you folks listening through your ears, thank you so much for listening. And then we've also had good response over on our YouTube channel. We have a brand new YouTube channel for Cruise Talk Weekly. It's called Cruise Talk Weekly, and we've just started publishing episodes. So this will be the third episode that we published on that YouTube channel. Definitely would encourage you to go over there and subscribe. We're trying to hit our very first YouTube milestone of getting to 1,000 subscribers, and I think we're less than 200 to getting there. And we've seen a lot of good response to the show, so thank you guys so much for that. And the easiest way to get directly to us about something that happened in the show is probably in the YouTube comments. We're both reading those comments, so if something hits you in a way and you want us to read it and maybe respond to it, go ahead and comment on the YouTube video. But certainly if you're listening on audio, we appreciate that, and if there's somewhere you can give us some hearts or some love on that audio, that would be great. And then like I said earlier, if you have questions or comments or anything you want us to react to, send us an email, questions@cruisetalkweekly.net. And we love talking to each other, but we also like talking to you guys too. Like you said, if you got problems, we're like vanilla ice. If you got a problem, I'll solve it. So just send me an email. That's what I'm saying. Am I too old to be quoting Vanilla Ice? I don't know.
Absolutely not. Come on.
Yeah. It's a Florida thing, I guess,
Exactly.
Was an ice from Florida?
A1A.
A1A.
Beachfront Avenue.
That's what.
Yeah, you're supposed to call back.
I was slow.
That's
all right. Got there. Beachfront Avenue. All right. Thank you guys for checking out this episode of Cruise Talk Weekly. I am Tony.
I am Tommy. You guys have a prolific week.
Prolific. Yeah, we'll have to get a new word for next week. I don't know. I'm feeling rambunctious. Maybe we could use that. All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you.
And it's a winning, never to lose. When we talk about vacation, though, it's always a cruise. It's Tony and Tommy with a TNT schmooze. Cruise Talk Weekly and we lighten the fuse.